So you might be wondering what's going on once you have your offer accepted. What are the moving parts of the transaction? What are these entities called title and escrow, and what's the lender doing? What's everybody doing? Okay, so let's just have a quick overview of what's going on in the transaction. First and foremost, you probably already heard of escrow. In fact, depending on where you are in the country, you might have used the phrase, we're opening escrow, or it could be opening title, or opening the file with your attorney, depending on where you're at. But in most cases, when you open escrow, that means you have a fully ratified purchase agreement. That means both parties have agreed and come to terms on what is going to happen. And now the third party, escrow, is taking this contract. They're going to interpret what they perceive to be the agreement, and then they're going to put it in their own terms. And this is escrow instructions. They're going to send that out to both parties to make sure that both parties agree as to escrow's interpretation of the purchase contract. And then once they have that signed back, that gives escrow the authority to move forward and actually work on making that escrow contract come to fruition, okay? So escrow is essentially a neutral third party working on the behalf of both the buyer and the seller in getting this transaction closed. So once they have these signed escrow instructions back from the buyer and seller, they're gonna go to work and make sure that they are coordinating as much of this transaction as they need to make sure that everything comes together to a smooth close. Escrow is going to be doing things such as collecting monies. So once you wire your earnest money deposit, your EMD, escrow is going to be taking that and holding that in their account. They're not going to let the seller have it. They're not going to do anything with it. It's just going to be held there, and they are handling monies essentially. So when it comes time to also wire any down payment funds or any closing cost money, they're essentially taking this money and they are dispersing it as needed. So on closing day, once escrow has all of these documents and the funds from either party, they're going to take these funds as necessary and disperse them. So for example, you're going to have your new insurance policy activated on that day. They're also going to take the monies from your new loan, from your new lender, and they're going to pay off the seller's lender if applicable. They're also going to pay any county and city transfer taxes. They're going to pay off any HOA transfer fees and HOA escrow documents. If there was termite work done on the property, chances are that was probably going to be paid through escrow as well. So they're going to handle the disbursement of all these funds essentially that everybody agreed upon beforehand. And it's like on closing day, bam, all these things happen. So everything is working up until closing day, and escrow is the one that pretty much is the go-in-between neutral third party that everything's going through, and they're organizing and coordinating for all this stuff to happen on closing day. Next, you have title. Now, title plays an important role because when you are buying a property, what are you really getting? You're getting a piece of paper that's saying you are the lawful owner of this property and nobody else has claim to it. But what happened in the past when somebody would say, okay, I'm going to buy this property from you, and then 10 years down the road, they find out that the seller's grandson says, no, I actually have a share in that property, and they would come and sue the new owner of the property. Well, that's old-fashioned stuff now because we have what's called title insurance. So the title company plays a huge important role in the transfer of real estate because they are doing their investigations on title. In fact, what's unique about a title insurance company as opposed to most insurance companies is that title is insuring the past, whereas most insurance companies insure the future. So if you have a car insurance policy and you get in an accident in the future, that's the only time you're going to get paid off. You can't go out, take out an insurance policy for your car just to cover an accident you had yesterday, right? But on the other hand, title insurance insures the past, meaning that if there was any claims that anybody had to the property prior to the date you closed and took title to that property, they are going to take responsibility for that with certain exceptions, but they are going to be doing their own research. They're going to be investigating the entire history of this title and this property to make sure that they are confident on issuing a title insurance policy for that property. And that's essentially what title is for, okay? So they're making sure that you as the buyer are getting a clean title and hand it over, and that if there are any claims that arise down the road, that you get covered and reimbursed and they make those troubles go away, okay? So that way you don't have to worry about Bob's grandson coming after you and suing you personally, and you have to go argue in court as to why Bob's grandson doesn't have a claim to your title anymore. You don't have to worry about that because title takes that out of the picture. So title plays an important role in this. They're also going to be making sure that you have a clean transfer of title when you close. They're going to be taking that deed, that grant deed from the seller down to the county courthouse and getting that file recorded publicly, which actually makes you the full owner. So title is essentially working directly hand in hand with escrow to make sure that everything comes together as agreed upon, and in the end, you are delivered a clean bill, a clean deed on that property, saying that you are the rightful and lawful owner of that property. And if anything comes up down the road, well, you know who to contact. So title plays an extremely important role in this, and that gets you the clean title at the end, which is, of course, what we're all in this for. Now, the third major moving part of the transaction, of course, is your lender. So if you are working with a lender, if you're not buying a property all cash, which is probably 95% of you out there, then you are going to be working hand in hand with providing anything the lender is going to need. So once you actually have a ratified purchase agreement, both parties have signed, the lender is going to be one of the first people to get a copy of that so they can get to work on your loan. Now, some of the things they're going to initially be doing are sending you things such as loan disclosures. We're going to talk about that in another lecture and talk about what to look for in those loan disclosures and what to compare it to up until the close. Make sure you understand you need to be working hand in hand with your lender. If they're asking for certain documents or asking for supporting letters or anything that they have a question about, you want to be sure you're getting back to them as quickly as possible because the lender has a lot of moving parts. And typically, getting the loan approved is one of the things that takes the longest in a transaction, okay? So typically speaking, that could be anywhere from 2 weeks on the fast end to 21 or 30 days, depending on the lender you're working with. So during the escrow process, your lender is going to be working diligently on getting your loan file approved. And understand that your loan officer is going to be working on the file, but they're going to have to get approval from the underwriter. So anything the underwriter writes as a condition, your lender, your loan officer is going to be working diligently in trying to get those documents from you. So for example, the lender's underwriter might say, hey, we need a letter of explanation for this $3,000 deposit on June 1st. And in that case, you're probably simply going to have to open up a Word document and say, okay, in regards to such and such, this is what the explanation was of why that money was deposited and where it came from. They might want you to source that. They might want you to track that, whatever it is. There's going to be different conditions like this. The underwriter and loan processors are going to be looking through your loan file and working diligently through this entire escrow process to make sure that you get your loan approved. So there you have it, folks. Those are the main spokes of the wheel behind the scenes that are working to getting you to the finish line. You have escrow as the go-in-between for everybody, title making sure you get a clean bill of sale and title at close, and your lender, of course, making sure you get a clean loan approval so they can actually get you the funds to close on the purchase. I'll see you in the next video.